All right, we are live once more, and I am going to get cooking here in a minute because I got a couple of things that I am in the process of doing here. This is a work session live stream. Let me get the Amazon thing going here real quick. So this is a work session live stream, which means that I am getting some things ready. Why is that zoomed in like that? That's weird. That's really weird. Let me cut, hang on a second, folks. Let's see what's going on with this, because something's not right here. Because that looks like I am zoomed in, and I shouldn't be. Because I have a much wider shot, and what you're seeing is far from a wide shot. So what's going on here? Hang on a second, folks. It's going to be one of those days, I think. I'm just waiting for the YouTube stream to catch up here, and then I will determine, yeah, what's going on? That's weird. Hang on, I'm going to cycle the stream on the YouTube side. So give me a second here, folks. I'll be right back. I'm not sure what Amazon's getting, so let me see what we're getting on Amazon. See, Amazon looks fine. It's the YouTube one that's messed up. So I'm going to stop the YouTube stream and restart it, and I will be right back. And let's see if that fares better, because the YouTube stream did not come through correctly. And YouTube's like about 30 seconds behind me here. And let's see what happens here. I'm waiting for it to cut back on the YouTube side, and then we'll get going. Yeah, it's still messed up. You know, it's crazy because, like, things work fine. You know, I wonder if this is just my window that I'm looking at here. Hang on, let me refresh the screen here. And that, it could just be the window I'm looking at. No, see, it's still, hang on a second. What do you all see on the YouTube side? I'm going to go to my channel and just make sure that it's not on my end. There's been some issues with this Chrome. Okay, oops, it looks fine there. There's been some issues with the Chrome, the ARM version of Chrome that is running on the new MacBook. I've been having so many issues with, like, images not appearing correctly and things being scaled improperly, but it looks like it's okay now. And if you're out of sync, I would refresh or go to Amazon. I think that would work better. Yeah, so what I was seeing, let's see if I can, I can't pull this up quickly for you. Yeah, so what it was doing was it was kind of like on my little preview window on the computer, it zooms in on just a portion of the overall image. But I think it's just a scaling issue with YouTube. So it looks like when I watch the regular feed here, it's fine. And if you're out of sync, I would okay, there we go. Yeah, so you should see the full box. That's what I see on my stream right now. So it was like zooming in on this portion right here. That was just in my window, so I think it's okay. Perfect, okay. So that's fixed. So what am I doing today? Well, I am like, it's weird. I'm actually running out of stuff to review, so I'm going through my backlog of things that I wanted to get done. And this is always that time of the year because everyone's, you know, usually this would be post-CES. All the new products have been announced and getting manufactured, and then you start seeing more stuff as you roll towards the spring. So what I'm doing today is I got in this laptop from Lenovo, and they were looking to, I guess they have some, these are like their review inventory models, the ones they send out for review, and there's new ones coming out. And they asked, you know, if I wanted one to do something with, and I said, you know, what will be great would be to get, if you have a few, or one or two or more, I would love to donate these to my school locally, the school system locally, because they're doing a lot more video. And it would be great to get Vmix installed on one of these so the kids can up the production game a bit. And what I'm going to do is donate a Vmix license to the elementary school and the high school so that they can use Vmix on these things to up the game. Because I think they're using like OBS right now. Not a bad way to go, but I think there's some things they could do with Vmix that might improve things and make it easier for them. So that's what we're doing. So that is the plan, and it's, hang on one second here. And then the other thing I'm in the process of doing is organizing my Vermont trip. So Okay, just to make sure. You end up canceling, don't forget to call. Okay. Haven't called Enterprise yet, but will tomorrow. Okay, so what's happening in my Vermont trip, I'm just organizing some things here. My brother, so here's what's going on. This is like one of those logistical weeks where it's just like, I got all these things. So I'm trying to make videos and I'm trying to do all the logistics of life here. So my brother lives up in, you're going to love this. So my brother lives up in northern Vermont. He's like, not quite in spitting distance of the Canadian border, but he's up there. And so he called me up the other day because he was having trouble with his internet connection because he's got like DSL. He lives, in a very rural area of Vermont. And so I said, have you looked into Starlink? And he goes, no, what's that? And I said, oh, well, this is the SpaceX satellite internet thing. So we looked up his address on the Starlink website and I put it in. And I was expecting to get the notice saying, thank you for your submission. We'll get back to you when service is available. And then they not only said, are you in the right spot? You can get it right now. Like, buy now, you've got 90 seconds to comply kind of thing. So I said, give me your credit card. We're going to solve all your problems. So we ordered a Starlink dish and it should be getting to him tomorrow. So the plan is on Saturday, I found a means of flying up to him. So I don't have to go 8 hours round trip in the car. We're going to fly up there and we're going to set him up. And then I'm going to shoot a video while I'm up there getting this set up. And then what I'm also going to do while I'm up there is we're going to do a live stream using the Starlink dish and something I'm reviewing for next week. And then I'm going to fly back at night. And that's what we're going to do. So a little propeller plane going to take me up over to northern Vermont. So that's the plan. And we might, we'll probably get 2 or 3 things out of it. Now, my brother up in northern Vermont has a maple sugaring business. So he makes wood-fired maple syrup. It's delicious. And so you can go to Rugged Ridge Forest and order his syrup. We've talked about it on the wrap-up before. And so we'll do a little tour of his facility. Maybe that'll be Monday's video. We'll have an overview of setting up Starlink and getting it working from taking it out of the box to hooking it up and then running some tests on it. And then what I might do is install one of my extra mini PCs up there so I have a way to connect in and like do some more tests remotely and stuff. So that's kind of the plan. So I thought you all might find that fun. So that's gonna be a fun project. So that's Saturday, but I've got to I got to rent the car because Jake is going to come with me, and all my brother's got is this tiny little pickup truck, and we're trying to maintain all the social distancing and stuff. So I'm going to get a larger car, put Jake in the back seat, open the windows up, keep the ventilation going, and then we'll do a lot of the video outside. So it'll be good. So and then. I have to get out of there under 24 hours so that we do have quarantining restrictions, although this is a work trip, so it would kind of not fall into that. But I just want to get back and not spend the night there, so because there's no place to really sleep at his place. So it's going to be fun. I think it'll be a fun trip. So what we're going to do now is, and I just need to capture something real quick here, so give me a second, because I am in the process of getting this video. I'm not shooting the video right this minute. I'm going to be shooting it later today. But I wanted to get the laptop set up. And this is one of those things without Jake here, like I have to do more of the setup stuff. So I figured I would live stream this part. And this is the Lenovo, this is the Vmix how-to. So this is going to be a Vmix how-to. I'm going to kind of show how I'm using it. And I think that might be of use to folks because it can be kind of a daunting software package, and I want to show people just how to get into it. And if you don't know what Vmix is, it is a live streaming platform, a software platform, and it's very reasonably priced. It's very powerful software. It's really, really good stuff. All right, so I'm going to pull up my Vmix social now and get some footage captured of that because I can grab some footage from my laptop here, and let me just get this going real quick. So bear with me, folks. I'm just getting some B-roll shot because I'm going to demonstrate the Vmix social app that I use. And I want to capture some footage of that app in action. I'm just going to copy the capture app to my applications folder here. Desktop capture. And I'll take some questions from you all too while we're doing this. And I just discovered that the Vmix Capture app actually works pretty well on the M1 Mac. So I was going to wait for them to come up with with the official version, but this has actually been working pretty good. All right, so I'm going to say display 1, bring that in, and then what we're going to do is add another input here of my local desktop, just to kind of show how Vmix Social works. So you're going to see this, and I'm going to record this, and we're going to click on this, and it does sometimes do that. So we're going to say set up Vmix on an upcoming video. So hit OK. We're going to turn it on, and then once it's on, what you're going to see is, hopefully, all of your, yep, there you go. So it just kind of floods in with all of your stuff. All right, so now I'm going to log that clip. So I just want to show how Vmix Social works. So Vmix how-to, and then this is B-roll Vmix Social setup. And then we're going to go to clip, we're going to make a new clip, and I think what I'm going to do here, I'm just thinking out loud here as I'm figuring out the workflow. What we're going to do next here is we're going to make, I have to bring in the Vmix Social title that I'm using, which is, this is one of the built-in ones, but it works pretty good. Actually, no, this will work fine because I can pull up in the preview window here, I can pull that up, yeah, that'll work. And so, so one of you is going to be famous twice here, okay? So let me find a fun one here. All right, so we're going to have, we'll have Lon.TV to be the one because this one is about Vmix. Okay, so what's going to happen here is I am going to put this up actually. So let's put that up. And then I'm going to click here and I'm going to send it. There we go. And then, oh, actually I can demo this like this because, yeah, so let's do that. So I can click on send. Let me do that again. There we go. Perfect. That is good. All right, so now I got that part done because that was going to bug me. And I'm always trying to think about, okay, I'm going to demo this, so what do I need to show with that, right? And then we're going to install this all on here. So right now, this is what's running on my local machine. And then we're going to install the same software on the laptop and get it set up. And then I'm going to record everything a little bit later. So that is the game plan. And now my wife is texting me. Oh, okay. All right, so when my wife gets back, she's bringing me something to eat. So I have to bring a piece of paper that she printed out upstairs. So there'll be some breaks in the action here, but it's okay. All right, so now the next step here, because I've already reviewed and unboxed this laptop, at least this version of it, several times. So we're not going to do a fancy unboxing here, but I thought it would be fun just to kind of take you through I'm probably killing my my Tesla pen here, but just take you through the process here of getting the whole thing set up from scratch. Because I'm going to assume in the video that people who are watching know how to get one of these things hooked up, one of these computers. Let me get my blade out. And Mark is my friend Mark is joining us. He's relocating. So Mark is the puzzle guy. Remember we did that video on OBS? So this is going to be kind of an offshoot of what we did with Mark, because Mark's video was about how he's using OBS, or how we used OBS to very quickly get his puzzle business on the live streaming with something cheap and free. And this is something that is not so cheap and free. I'm just bringing this upstairs for my wife now. Because it does require purchasing software and more robust hardware. But if you're getting paid to do it, I think spending a little bit on something that is going to work is worth it. And what's worked for me on this is that before I was spending a lot of money on TriCaster stuff, and this actually does better than the TriCaster did, believe it or not. Now, in fairness, for me it does better, and in fairness, because the TriCaster that this replaced is about 6-7 years old. Yeah, this is its 7th year. So hardware has moved to a point where you can do a lot more in software. Ooh, this is a nice color. Isn't that nice? It's like a army camo color. I like that. All right, so we got that. I like that color a lot. And we'll get the power supply out here. Looks like this one's new. I thought this might have been one of their pre-reviewed units, but it looks pretty new. And so yeah, we're going to be donating this one. Now the hardware specs of this, and I need to write this down before I get too much further here. The hardware specs of this one is an i7 with a 1650 Ti on board. So that is what it's got on the hardware specs. And I'm just going to get the power cable situated here. If you're curious what I was having issues with before, here's what my YouTube screen looked like. So that's the shot that we're on right now, and look what I was seeing in the preview window. See that? So that was why I was like, what's going on? Just looked weird. All right, so let's tilt our camera down here a bit, just so you can see what I'm doing. And we'll get this going. Now, when I got Mark set up with his computer, I think we got an update on one of my packages. When I got Mark going with his thing, we were using a very inexpensive AMD powered device. And I'm just checking to see here. Okay, so it looks like Josh's Starlink got delayed, but we're still on track, because if it gets delivered tomorrow, which is Friday, we're in good shape. So hopefully we're okay there. I forgot what I was saying. I got too many things buzzing at me here. So this one's got an i7. It's a 10th generation chip. So this is like they have a new one coming out soon, but it's a similar design to this one. And what I like about the Legion laptops, and I own one, in full disclosure, that I bought last year. What I like about them is that they're not that big, right? So this is the Legion 5. It probably weighs about 5 pounds, but you got, a pretty powerful package with a good GPU, and they're not all that expensive. It depends on what your configuration is and everything else, but they're great for Vmix because you want a good NVIDIA GPU on board. Lon.TV is wondering, isn't that hinge position kind of unusual? Yeah, I think the reason is that it looks the way it does is that and I'll pull off the lower third there so you can see it, is that it's got a lot of additional radiating devices on it. So there's like 2 radiators here on the side. And so to make room for that, the hinge is a little pushed forward. So you'll feel a lot of hot air blowing out the back of these things. And they can get a little noisy, but they're, for a gaming laptop, they're not that loud. And that's what's been so neat about the development of this live streaming software, is that the advancements that they've made on the, yeah, here's another fun comment here from Lawn Dog about getting the Windows 10 updates. That's right. Get the Windows 10 updates going. All the advancements on the gaming side have led to advancements in real-time video processing, because you have video encoders that are used for, for streaming video back out for games, but you also have, essentially chips that can do a lot in parallel. These GPUs have a lot of little tiny graphics cores that all work together, and video is a very parallel task. So, for example, when I bought my TriCaster back in 2014, they were relying, and I think they still do to some degree, but they were relying on FPGAs to do all the work, because you didn't have an off-the-shelf component that worked as well as something more specialized. But these consumer GPUs are fantastic. And this one has a 1650 Ti. And I'm looking for the end of my Ethernet cable here. When I did that video, we did that stream the other day when we were going out to test the effectiveness of that booster. I had my super long Ethernet cable here running into my bunker so I could get the video signal out using NDI, which is something we'll talk about. And now we're going to plug the Ethernet in and get this thing booted up. Now they have two models of these, or there's a couple different versions of it. This is the Legion 5, which is kind of the mid-range one. I think they have a Legion 3 also. And this one, and I need to get my notes put together, because I was about to tell you what it had inside and then I got distracted. This one has an i7, bear with me here. This one has an i7 10750H. i7 10750H. It has 16 gigs of RAM, which is good for what we're going to use it for in a school. My system has 32 that I run on, but I rarely run out of memory. I have never run out of memory. And we've got a 1660 Ti. And I would say, from... Hello.
I'm Cortana, and I'm here to help.
You are here to help, aren't you?
A little sign in
Yeah.
here,
Okay.
there, and we'll have your
She
PC
drives me
ready for all
crazy.
you plan to do.
Here's the other problem. When you review as many computers as I do, like,
And if you'd like me to
you
stay
get...
quiet, just select the little microphone
Yes.
icon towards the bottom of your...
There we go. You hear this woman a lot, so I'm glad to silence her. And I want to thank Hey over on Amazon for following. Thank you very much. So yeah, i7 10750H, 16 gigs of RAM, and a GTX 1660 Ti. And this is, again, 10750H. And the reason why you want a GPU is because Vmix makes a big use of the GPU. So you want that. This is a 6-core, 12-threaded processor. And this is, for what these kids are going to do, it's going to be more than enough. They're going to be doing 1080p, so nothing too crazy. And we just have to get the computer set up from scratch here. And the other thing that I would do on this one, we'll wait for it to boot up, is there's a performance mode that you can set for this. So it'll run a little louder with the fans, but you'll get the max performance. And again, GPU performance is really critical for Vmix. The timings are very, very close. And while this is going, I'll take some more questions here. Thomas Hendricks, I'll pull you up here. Thomas says, when I used to stream high school sports, I used 3 laptops running Vmix. Main laptop had the 4K version and did the mixing, a second for graphics, and a third to stream. Yeah, there's a lot of ways that you can use it all together. So there's people that there's so many different ways to implement a Vmix strategy. I have, and we did this in our video. I'm going to do I don't want to have an account. I want to not have an account, because I would prefer that I can just let them do their own thing when they get it. You have to have an account now, huh? Can we get around that? What do you all think about how we get around this? I'm going to hit next. I would prefer not to get them started with an account. Because then it's going to become a big nightmare when they give it back to the school. If you prefer not to have a Microsoft account associated with the device, you can remove it, finish. Oh, you got to go through the settings and then remove it. All right, so we'll just do that. I have a account that we use for this stuff, but I would prefer not to have to deal with that. But you do what you got to do. Okay. So we're going to go through the process here of getting this set up. Oh, yeah, if I disabled the internet connection, I should probably have pulled the cable out the back. That would have done it. I can do it later. Because now I've committed myself. I mean, worst comes to worst, this is my test account that I use for stuff anyhow, so. All right, we'll deal with that later. Worst comes to worst, I set it up again for him. All right. Do more with activity history. No. It seems like everything on this setup process now is just designed to extract money from people. And I wouldn't be so upset about it if they weren't charging so much for licenses. At this point, just give Windows away for free. If you're going to be asking for all this stuff and putting all this junk on there that you don't want. And then we need to, I'm just making notes as we go along here. And then I need to also figure out how much video memory we have on this machine as well. Because there's a setting in Vmix that you can use that can get you a little bit more performance out of the GPU, because you can make use of all the memory that you have. Frank Cromer is in on the Amazon chat. Got the notification. Excellent. Yeah, if you ever want to find me on Amazon, if you go to Lon.TV/Amazon Live, it'll take you right in. And then if you're watching on YouTube, you can click on the link. This is now the Lenovo thing, so we'll just go through this. You can click on the link in the video description that'll also take you into Amazon. All right, so we'll let that go through its installation process. And this always freaks me out, this screen, we're getting everything ready for you. Don't worry. This might take several minutes, but we're gonna get your PC set up for you. Don't touch anything. This might take several minutes. It's okay. We've got a fast computer, an NVMe drive on this sucker, and we've got gigabit internet going in. So I think we should get this up and running pretty quickly. I'll take some more questions while we're waiting here. Mark has got, I think Comcast gigabit at his place or an equivalent. 1 gig down and 40 megabits up. Londog wants to know, are we going to do a demonstration of what the software can do? Absolutely. In fact, if you want to know what it can do, here we go. You are watching it. In fact, everything I produce is produced on Vmix. So you can see what we've got here. So if I want to set up my next shot, I can put this into preview. And then I can hit the space bar, take it live, just like that. I can queue up this shot here. And what's neat about Vmix is that everything is set up as an input. So once you get the concept down as to how it works, it really starts to make sense. And if you look at your input list here, all of these things can be an input. So it doesn't matter what it is, it just becomes an input, and you can just drop it in. It's pretty neat. All right. And I got a comment here on the Amazon. If it allows you to tell if you're going to put it on a domain later, then you should create a local admin account. Oh, that's right. Yeah, I'll get through all that. I'll figure that out with them later. Okay, so now we are booted up, and I am loath to do this, but we need to check the Windows update here. And we'll check for updates. And that's going to take us a while. All right, so we'll let that go through. Yeah, and we're going to end up having to connect this to the school network and get them. I don't know what they're using because they're mostly a Google school. So I don't know if they have an Exchange server that they're going to connect it up with, but I think they might. So I'm going to let them kind of figure it out. And now it's got to do all these things. And I think while that's going, I'm also going to update the NVIDIA drivers because I am sure these are way out of date as well. What is this? Oh, so this will switch between NVIDIA. So this is another thing. Oh, this has Optimus. So you definitely want to disable, this is a key thing. You want to disable the Intel graphics completely. And we might, yeah, we're going to go NVIDIA GPU only. And I'm going to need to make note of that. Disable, yeah, force it. This is not going to be a big deal on a desktop, but that's going to be, this is a really critical thing, is to make sure this is only going to work with the NVIDIA GPUs. You're going to apply that and let that become the norm here, because you don't want that Optimus thing going. It's going to kill your performance. All right. So we're going to do that. And then we're going to wait for all these updates to come down. It shouldn't take too long, but we'll get to that in a minute. So here's a good question from Mark. So this is actually a very valid question. So the question here is, how would the MacBook Air do with the Vmix setup? So Vmix only runs on Windows. That's it. So there is something on the Mac called, I think it's called Mimo Live. Yes, Mimo Live. And I haven't used this, but I would say, and I'll show you what this looks like. This would be the Mac equivalent. And like I said, I haven't really played with it too much, but feature-wise, it runs, it's a very different experience, but it runs very similar to Vmix, and it has a lot of the same features, but it runs on the Mac. What I don't know is if they have a version, this might be a fun video to do also. I should reach out to them, because I don't know if they have an M1 enhanced version yet. Because that might be a fun thing to do on the laptop here and see how it can compare to like my big Intel desktop here. Because it looks like this might just be Intel at the moment. But you know, this has been around for a long time, and one of the things that they had prided themselves on was kind of really tying in with the Apple APIs. So I'm sure they've got work to do to convert this over, but I'm going to guess if you're looking at an M1 Mac, this is going to give you a good experience. And like I said, I'll reach out to them. That might be a fun video to do in the future, because there's been some interest in kind of doing things with this MacBook Air that is not, people like that. Like, what can you do with it? What's so much better about it, right? So, all right, we're getting all these things installed here, pending install. All right, so you know what I'm going to do while this is going in the background? I'm just going to pull up this here and start messing around with it. I'll take this question here from Terrell as we're going. How's the Gigabit Pro service been treating you? Any chance for a follow-up video? Yeah, it's been going fine. In fact, it's been going so well, I haven't had much to talk about. It's been great. It's been great. Actually, I've been working on making use of my second connection. So that's part of what I'm going to do there. Brian Label says, if I ever do a Q&A session, I should do a Q&A thing. Maybe we'll do that at some point. I always like to have some kind of topic, but it might be fun just to have, kind of a random one. All right, looks like we have the request here to reboot, so let's do that real quick. This is why I'm doing all this now, so I can shoot this video without any problems here. Okay, restart required. Okay, so I'm acknowledging that. Let's go over to our thing here, and I'm just going to hit the restart. It wants a restart, I'll give it a restart. Yeah, will not run on a Chromebook. Tom is wondering about OBS on the Mac. Yeah, OBS isn't bad. You know what I found, though, is that OBS on the Mac doesn't work as well as OBS does on Windows. To the point where one of the things I was helping the school with when we were playing around with OBS is we were running OBS in we were running OBS on Boot Camp on the Mac. So that's what we need to do there. Yeah, I'll take a look at what version it's on. This thing has been in a box probably since it was manufactured. So I'm guessing the battery was dead. So I am guessing we've got a bunch of updates to install in there. Steve Murray says, yeah, doing the thing on the Mac would be a disarming conversation. It's kind of fun. It's on the table. Okay. Oh, you got? Yeah, I'll take it. Where'd you go? I'll be right back, everybody. Okay, sorry, everybody. All right, my wife put me to work. Okay, so yeah, it looks like I have a little BIOS update to go through. So we'll see what's going on there. My wife picked me up a McChicken while she was getting a Happy Meal for the little one. So I'm going to make this a working lunch here with all of you. So I will mute when appropriate. All right. All right, so let me log into my machine here, and we'll get going there. And I anticipate a lot more updating ahead. Looks like it's doing some display updates also. Now the screen went dark. I'm assuming it's just doing video drivers. That's not a good sign. Hello? All right, so the display output has stopped, although we do have a usually there was, what's the key commands? Like Windows what? D? WinP. I'm going to let it sit for a minute. I'm assuming there's some kind of driver install going on. But we just lost the display, so hopefully that returns in a minute. All right, so we're going to, I hate doing this. I don't know what's going on the machine right now. The hard part about these solid state devices is you don't know, you don't actually know what it's doing. So we have no hard drive noise or indicator light. So I hate doing this. So I'll try the push button, proper shutdown thing or sleep here and see what happens. So now it's sleeping. Now on the, yeah, it looks like the display, the driver, whatever it did with the driver, completely killed the display. So I'm gonna just, I hate doing this, but I'm gonna hit the button and hold it down. Frank Cromer asks about Unify. Can you start with the Unify Pro and use it with your existing equipment? Yes, you could do that. So you could get started with that and then add in the Unify stuff. It does work better as an integrated solution, I found, on the Unify stuff. All right, we're good. So we're going to go back in real quick. And Frank, to just follow up on that question in the Amazon chat, I have some non-Unify gear on my network. And I found with the VLANs and stuff, it gets a little trickier when you have to configure things differently. But it's not a problem to mix things. In fact, I was using Unify's access points before I had one of their, even a controller. I set it up once and just kind of let them run. So it's usually okay with other equipment. Now what I want to wait for here is everything to boot back up here, because I want to make sure that we have, oh, so it completely swapped everything out. GeForce Experience. So the next thing we want to do is, of course, go and get Vmix installed. So let's go visit the Vmix website. What's interesting is it's not putting up that app that allowed you to switch video modes. And you know what else I'm going to do? I'm going to get rid of McAfee and enable just the basic Windows Defender stuff. So let's get that out of here. Because what I suggest is like getting anything that could run in the background and interfere, just get it out. And they actually have an app that you can run that will really guide you through through some of the things you need to do to make it run better. All right, now we're going to restart without McAfee. There is a big Windows roll-up update, which I'll do when we're done getting things set up. Vmix will run on the version that we're on, so we should be okay. All right, so let's get this show on the road here. Okay, so we're going to go to the Vmix website, and we're just going to grab Vmix and install that. I'm actually going to install two different things from here. And in the video that I'm going to do, I'm going to talk about the different versions of Vmix. What's nice is that you can, and we're going to grab the desktop capture first. What's nice about Vmix is that you can download the full version, which has got all the features, and you can run it for 90 days and figure out what you need from that. And I think that's what's great about their model here, is that rather than buying it, you can just you just download it and see if it works. And if it doesn't work, then don't buy it. But there's ways to get it working, even on things that aren't that cooperative. But I would say at a minimum, unlike OBS, which you can run on a really inexpensive computer, you really need something more powerful for Vmix. So we'll see what happens there. And what I'm going to do right now is just get they have an NDI screen capture app, the same one I'm running on the Mac right now. And I'm just going to get that installed so that we can see the screen. I try to do as much over NDI as I can, just because it's more convenient, and it works. So we're going to get that going. Yeah, so on the update side, I think we're good. We could, force more in, but like I said, I just want to get it set up, and I will get the other update going in a little bit. Hard drive space, I wonder how much we have on here. Not that it matters, because you can hook up additional ones. Now, the one downside of the Legion 5 versus the 7, again, this is a Legion 5, is that the Legion 5s don't have a Thunderbolt port. So I often like to capture, so I capture on an NVMe drive on my desktop that's just installed. And I have some external NVMEs that run over Thunderbolt, and those tend to work better. Now this one apparently has, it looks like it's got a spinning drive and a solid state drive. So the solid state drive is, it's about 512 gigabyte solid state. And then I think there's a terabyte, yes, it's got a terabyte spinning drive. What kind of hard drive is it? Yeah, so it looks like a WD spinning drive, but it's very quiet. You can hear it kind of going, but it's not very loud. Actually, you know what? Yeah, I think it's got, right, because these you can do a SATA drive or a second NVMe, but not both. That's what it is. All right, so now let's get Vmix Capture set up. At least finish that setup. And we'll do that. And then you'll be able to see the screen now that I get this installed. So if we go over to here, I'll show you what I'm doing here. So if we go to my running Vmix session here, I can go to here, go to NDI, and I can pull in the display from the laptop. It'll pop up here in a second. There you go. So now this is what is this. See? Isn't that handy? So now we're going to go and download Vmix. So we're going to download that real quick. It's only about 300 megabytes. There was a time when that was a lot, but not anymore. All right, so we got that going. We're going to open the file up and get that installed. And as you get into the live streaming business, you're going to find that everybody runs Vmix. It's become like the standard tool of the professional streaming industry. Yeah, it looks like we're just getting ready to install here, so we'll let that do its thing. I'm not sure what's going on. We'll just let it sit here for a second until it gets going. There it goes. Welcome to setup. And before we run Vmix, what we're going to look at first is their optimization tool, because that is the most important part, especially on a laptop, because you've got a lot of components that have to be configured properly. And Noah FR on Amazon says, if I see it, say hello Israel. Hello Israel. We got people from all over the world watching every day when we come on. It's funny, I usually come on a little bit later in the afternoon, so we get a few more folks. There's like a period of time that works best for the US and Europe, because I get like the late afternoon in the US and evening in Europe. But I started earlier today because as usual, my time budgeting has not lined up with reality. So I forgot how long it takes to get everything set up. And it's not the fault of Vmix. We're basically taking this computer out from scratch and turning it into a production system. So that's part of what takes so long. But I found I can, make the best of my time by live streaming the day-to-day, so you can see what goes into every video we make. So the video might be 25 minutes when it's done, but there's probably a day's worth of work that goes into getting things configured and optimized and all that good stuff. All right, so now Vmix is installed. And Vmix is more than just the main program is this. This is the main thing. But there is a lot of other supporting applications. So for example, it looks like it's frozen on your screen. Let's see, did I close out the streaming thing? Nope. The firewall blocked our thing. This should catch up now. Let's see here. We may have to cycle it. So the screen got, oh, looks like we're back. Well, it's transmitting, but it's not working. Let me cycle the connection here. And there we go. Okay, now we're back. The Windows firewall got into the mix here. So what I am going to install is the Magic YUV lossless codec. And I'm going to record some B-roll on that. And the reason why you want to install that codec is because I really prefer to record in their lossless codec, just because you get the best quality video and there's no CPU hit for that. It's really well optimized. Then when you have the codec installed, my understanding is on Windows, you're able to work with the video directly out of Vmix, essentially lossless. So you don't lose any quality, you don't have to do any transcoding because the codec is just compatible with everything. So we're going to take the extra minute or two and get that codec installed. And you could also play the video through VLC too, after you record it. All right. So that is done. So now, the next thing we're going to do, before we get to the fun stuff, is we're going to want to optimize Vmix here. So let's go down to the Vmix. It'll install a whole bunch of different applications here. So we have desktop capture, which I had downloaded separately, which we're running now. And what you want to do is run the Vmix diagnostics before you really get into anything else. And what this is going to do is look for all the things that are causing trouble on your installation. So I'm going to, oh, see this, and here's immediately something that I discovered is that it is locked in with the Intel UHD graphics. So we need to force this. And I thought we had done that before, but apparently not. So we've got to run over to our NVIDIA control panel. I think I might go into the BIOS and just disable the Intel graphics completely, because it went back to automatic selection here. So I want to put this into NVIDIA GPU only. And we're going to apply that again. And that we might lose our connection to the capture thing briefly, but I'll get it back. Okay. All right, so let's try this again. And let's cycle our Vmix capture real quick. So that's going to be a big theme of this effort here, is getting that Optimus stuff disabled. And my understanding is that some of these Optimus laptops might have a little bit of a performance disadvantage versus those that do have it. But let's see if disabling that has helped. All right, so we're going to go back to the Vmix diagnostics. And now you can see that it's got the NVIDIA GPU. So we're going to hit Start Scan. And it said no background graphics card applications detected. So it looks like actually we did pretty well here. Usually it finds a whole bunch of stuff to complain about. So we're good. All right, so the next step is to get Vmix loaded up, and we'll start putting some things on there. I think I'm going to move the whole Vmix folder over to, I got to do my alphabet properly here. I'm going to move this. Can I move that? No, I can't move that. I can only move the applications. I just want to see if this is something else we should run. Okay, that's not what I need. Okay. All right, so now let us boot up Vmix for the first time. And when you boot it up, you're going to have, oh, I got to do my trial here. So what I'm going to do is register for the trial. And the reason is that I want to show the full functionality, and then we'll do a little bit more in the video explaining what the differences are. So I just need to type in my address here. And I'm pretty sure I haven't used this email address before. I should reach out to them and see if they can. Yeah, I've paid for Vmix. I'm not against paying for it. I just would like a copy that I can use to mess around with stuff. All right. So the next step here is kind of setting up the resolution to start with. And you've got some options because you can go up to 4K, like some crazy, 4K 60 stuff, like right here. But for what we're doing at the school, or you can do 60, 1080 60. But we're going to do this one here, which is the 1080p 2997. This is kind of the default. That's what I use for my videos. So if you were to do 60 FPS stuff, then I would do, actually I'm sorry. This is not 60, this is interlaced. And I think you can select, so if you wanted to do 60 FPS, you do this one right here. That's 60p. But we're going to do 1080p at 2997. What the interlaced is if you're doing broadcast, you're interlacing at 1080, which means that your resolution really is 540p because you're doing 2 cycles per frame. So what happens is basically how the old NTSC used to work, is it does every other scan line, and then it goes back and fills in the rest of them. And so when you see those like jaggedy lines when things are moving fast on some YouTube videos, it's because they did not de-interlace the video. Thankfully, interlacing is slowly going away, even on broadcast. So this is going to become less of an issue. But you want to do 1080p 30 at a minimum. And that's what we're going to choose here. Okay. So there you go. I got some questions that came in here while I was messing around with stuff. Flatter's asking, is this my personal Legion or a review unit? This is one that Lenovo is, so what happened was Lenovo sent us this because we're going to be donating this to a local school. So that's why we're starting from scratch here. And Flatter's asking, because he bought one too. Yeah, these are great. I bought one of these too. I have one that I bought, and then this is the one that they sent in for us to donate. But I have one. I have a Y740, which was last year's model, and that has proven to be a workhorse. In fact, I ran the whole channel off of it for 2 weeks about a year ago. It's really good. We did a high school graduation stream for 7.5 hours off of the Legion's, the Y740, which is now the Legion 7 for the current version. It's great. Okay, and we got a little song here. So they've got a great show. They have like a fun, they call it the Fun Time Live show that they do every weekend, or actually every month, which I tune in for because they always announce new stuff. All right, so we're up, and this is what a lot of people get turned off by, because you're just like, here's the screen, have at it. So what you can do is start bringing in devices that you can capture from. And what I'm going to do here real quick before we go too much further is I'm just going to get all these things set up so I can get ready to record my video later. But what I want to do first is get the drivers downloaded for this Elgato Cam Link. And you can buy these really cheap USB to HDMI, these HDMI to USB capture devices out there that cost 1/3 of this one. But this one's more reliable, in my experience. It's designed to be used in a way that I think those cheaper ones are not. So you can roll the dice with a cheaper one, but if you're getting paid, you want to use equipment that's going to work. And you may even want something more robust than this one, perhaps, like a Blackmagic something or other. But for, doing high school sports or whatever, not terribly crazy budget stuff, this might work just fine. But again, if you go with the cheaper stuff, you got to be careful, So we're going to go and just head over to the Elgato website. Oops. Just going to do a quick search for hardware drivers. So has no driver. Okay, we have the 4K. This is the Cam Link 4K. Oh, there's no driver because it's a UHC. Okay, so we don't need a driver for it, it looks like, because it's a UVC device. So I thought you needed one, but I guess not. Perfect. So the Cam Link 4K, that's what this one is. It's the Cam Link 4K. So we are good. So what we'll do is I'm just going to attach it without a camera installed initially. Now the other thing to look at is the speed of your ports. So you want to put this in the fastest port you got. This one on the back, actually these are all, let's see if there's any 10 gig ports. Yeah, so I think I'm okay on the side. Yep, I can plug it on the side. So we'll just pop it on the side here. And we'll let that get installed. Ooh, and the other thing I'm going to do here is get my camera hooked up. So I've got a camera we're going to directly attach. Just to start with here. So we're going to get the camera booted up, and we're going to connect the HDMI cable to it. All right, so it is good to go, and we're just going to attach the HDMI to that. And when the HDMI connects and it's getting a signal, it'll light up white here. So we're good there. So now we're going to go back to Vmix, and we'll add our first camera. So we'll go to Camera, and we will select. And you can see we've already got CamLink 4K here on the list. And we'll hit OK, just to see if it comes in without any futzing around. Whoa, whoa. Okay, now that's your first lesson in how this works. So the key here is to immediately turn off your headphone output. So we're going to bring up the audio mixer, and you see this headphone jack here? So there's a couple different ways you can do this. What I do with mine is I go into the gear icon here on the input, and what I do for the things that I'm setting up here is I go to audio settings, and I turn the headphone jack off. So now if I unmute my computer here, so I'm talking, but it's not coming back out through the speakers. And again, you do that through audio settings after clicking the gear icon. And there's a lot you can do with audio buses and all this crazy stuff, but for me, I just turn off this mic. So right now, I have the volume up on my desktop machine, but it's only going to play things back that are not this, because this one I've muted on the headphones, but everything else can just output. And so when I'm doing an interview, for example, I plug a little headphone into the headphone output of my desktop computer, and I run it through my shirt to my ear so I can hear the person. Because if you kill the volume on your computer, you kill everything. So right now, even though you don't hear me, if you were to watch a stream of what I'm doing here, the camera's audio is going out. Now, this is coming through the CamLink. So that's what you got there. And the big thing on Vmix is looking down in the corner, or in the lower portion of the screen, because this will tell you what kind of capacity you're under. So right now, if you look at this, we're using about 6% of the GPU with one 1080p input coming in real time. And here, check out the latency on it. It's not bad. It's pretty good, right? Partly because the CamLink here doesn't compress the video. It just passes the HDMI over to the USB. So that's why that is so good. So there you go. So we've got kind of the first camera brought in. Now, if you want to bring in more cameras, we can do that. And actually, what I'm going to do here is show you something else that's kind of neat. So if I go into this is my system I'm broadcasting from right now. If I go to my output settings here, I can actually send out things from this machine as NDI outputs. So I'm going to send out input 1 and input 2 over NDI. And so now these are going to be made available to my computer here if I want to bring in more sources. But in the interim, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in, and I've got to adjust the scaling on this in a second. I'm going to bring in the webcam because I can do that. Check it out. And I think this webcam is only 720p. But let's try to bring it in at 1080 anyhow and see what happens. Okay, you watching? Oh, there you go. So now it's telling me it's 720p only. So we'll go ahead and just turn it down to 720p. So 720 by 480. And okay, oops. And I need to set the video format to MJPEG. It tells you what it can do. Oh, add to movie. The following are supported. So I have 12, oh, I'm sorry. What am I doing? 1280 by 720. I need my coffee. There we go. And you can see it's flickering, just, it's the lighting. But there you go. So now we've got two cameras. And I could do a little merge thing here. A little nice cross dissolve. Pretty cool, huh? And then we can do some other stuff. So let's say I want to add titles. Add an input. Go to title. And they've got a ton of built-in titles. I think some of these GT titles might be things that are part of the more expensive packages, but when you're playing with the demo, you get it for part of the deal. Now you can see here that the headline, or the title here shows up as a black box above it. So here, I'll show you, let's type my name in here. Okay. And we're good. So I'll close that out. Now I could take this live, but all I get is a black screen. So how do I get the title over me? Well, that is what these little numbers are for below the input. So if I click on 1, if you have the 4K version or above, you get all 4 of these. I think the 1080p, the least expensive one, is you get 1. But I have an overlay channel, so I can go ahead and just put that in. See that? Isn't that cool? And you can have it run, you can have multiple things up at the same time. So for example, I can have this one running with a title, and then I could add another one and have it on the screen at the same time. So there's like a little spinner thing they've got here. And you put images on this. So we're just going to run with the basic one here. So if I hit 1 here, this would replace that, right? But let's say I want to have both up. So I could maybe make this one 2 and make this one 1. And now I've got both up on screen at the same time. And check it out. I mean, we've got 2 cameras now, one at 720p upscaling to 1080. We have a legit 1080 feed coming in from the camera here over the cam link. We've got 2 titles up. And yeah, I'll loop this. And we're using, if you look on the bottom, you know, very little of our system resources, 10% GPU memory. Isn't that cool? So we've got room to play with. We could do more. We could do more. So this is where you start killing it a little bit. So we're going to bring in now an NDI source. So I'm going to bring in the output of my system here. So we have 2 cameras that I can bring in. These are the ones that are going through my system, but they're being sent out over the network via NDI. Look how good the quality is on this. And there's going to be some delay because we're running through a couple different things. Oops. There's the audio, right? So let me go fix that real quick. I'm just going to turn the audio off. All right, so if I cut us in, here I am. Hello. And not bad. I mean, there's a little bit of a delay because we're going into my system and then back out again. But as you can see, we're pulling in, or which camera am I on? I could look at either one. We're pulling in a network video source over NDI, and it looks just as good. Now, what I could also do is I could output this. This will be cool. So we're going to go back to our NDI settings that we did before. And I'm going to output this back to my other system. So we're going to turn NDI on. Oops. All right. And not to confuse you, but let's go. I'm trying to figure out how to. Oops, hang on a second. What did I do here? I think I have to restart Vmix. Bear with me here for 1 second. Output NDI SRT settings. Okay, NDI on. I think it said I have to restart to get that to work. We'll see. All right, so let me save this real quick and we'll restart because I want to adjust the scaling anyhow. And hopefully this is making sense to everybody. But this is what I'm going to explain all this in the video as I'm getting ready to get going here. But you can see how seamless all this works, right? And this is all software. It's all software. There's no nothing going on here. And you can see now, like the CPU and the GPU is getting used up a little bit more because the GPU memory is really I found to be the big impediment at 1080. When you get to 4K, you're going to want more powerful stuff. All right, so I'm going to close this out real quick. Here's the other cool thing is you can have presets set up too. And why does it think it has two displays? What does it think this one is? And I'm going to turn the scaling to 100%. It was looking a little bit blurry on the text, and I think that was why. All right, so there we go. So now we're going to boot Vmix up again. Now what's going to happen here is that when you boot it up again, it just comes back to the blank slate. But if you saw, I saved things before we went on. So I have this file called testing. And so when I click this, it's going to bring everything back. All the network settings, the cam link, the webcam, boom, back. Just like that. So it's all like here. And so you're good to go. So now I should have a NDI feed available. And what I'm going to do to prevent confusion here is to put this up. And we're going to go back to my main Vmix system here. And I'm going to go and grab the output of the system we are on, which is this one. Okay, here we go, Vmix output 1. So that's the output. All right. And so now this is coming out of the laptop, pushed out over the network over NDI, over to my system. Isn't that cool? It just works like that. So you could download the free NDI Studio Monitor software and just use laptops that you have on the network as monitors, so you can remotely monitor stuff. Or, so the video is a two-way thing over the network. And it works. I mean, it may be a little bit delayed speech-wise because this is coming, yeah, it's not bad. This is coming out of the laptop. This to give you an idea of what's happening here. So we are broadcasting this image over the Ethernet, and then that's getting sent into the network switch, and then it comes to my computer here, just like that. Isn't that crazy? And look at the resources here. I'll pull up the laptop resources here. Maybe hard to see, but we're running at, let's see if I can zoom that in for you. I'm going to make a virtual input here. We are running at, go to position. I just have to figure out how to explain all this to make it really simple, because it can get complicated. All right, so if you look there at the bottom, and I'll show you what I'm setting up here. This is also kind of a neat thing you can do. So we're going to set this up here, and we'll cut that in. And then I can do this cool merge. Isn't that cool? It zooms right in. So this is the laptop. And so you can see, let me move this over just a tad, because I want to show you, yeah. And believe it or not, the laptop's fan is not even on yet. So you can see, what the capacity is here. So we're using about 15% of the GPU memory, but we still got some bandwidth to play with here, some capacity. So I could probably add a couple more sources if I wanted to. And then the other thing I can do here is we can take a look at the system resources, the performance here. And you can see that the video that we're outputting is about 230 megabits, 228 megabits per second. And that's to send the video out to the other system that's receiving it. And then it's receiving about 100 megabits from the system going in. And there could be varying reasons for that. NDI's bandwidth will vary dramatically based on what's going on, how much movement's in the scene. It's kind of a lossless codec. It does do some compression, but it's pretty good. And you can see here the NVIDIA GPU. is about 45% occupied. And that's the one thing that they don't give you is an idea as to what the capacity of the GPU is insofar as its processing power. And so this is where you run into some issues. You know, like we're running essentially let's just say three 1080p displays, even though one's 720p. You know, we're hitting about half the GPU capacity, give or take. So you will see things slow down sometimes, even, right? So this is where you kind of hit the upper limits of what you can do. Now, I'm pretty sure that this GPU has about 6 gigs of storage, and there is a setting for this. Let me just double check and make sure that is the case. This is the 1660 Ti VRAM. And we'll go into the settings here and just see what capacity we've got on this one. Because there is a setting to up the video memory if needed. So let me just go find the video control panel real quick. But this system is barely, I mean, even look at the CPU load. I mean, it's minimal. So we've got plenty of room here to play with. And let's go. I think it'll tell you what you have, right? Somewhere in here. System information, here we go. Okay. So let's see how much video memory. Total available. So it's got 6 gigabytes of dedicated video memory. So let me show you one more setting that you may want to look at in Vmix, because the default is not to have this on there. So there's one last thing to look at. So we go to settings. And there's a few other things that you can tweak to get it right, which I'll cover. If you go to performance, you probably want to set the NVIDIA card as the default just to be safe. And then there's an option here for high input performance mode. And this is for graphics cards with 3 gigabytes of memory only, but we have 6, so this can be turned on. This is often off by default. And then you can also set some warnings up. You'll find you may not need to have the warnings. You'll probably see it happen before. And it's good to really run through your setup to make sure that your computer can handle it. Because it's kind of like a sports car where you've got all this power, but with great power comes great responsibility. So you have to make sure that you're not pushing your system too far beyond what it can do, because they will let you. They will let you have 500 sources on here if you wanted to. It's a matter of what your system can handle. But there you go. So we're in good shape. And let me just check the performance again. I don't think we'll see a performance difference with that setting turned on. I think we still will probably see about 50% utilization here. And it'll vary based on what's going on. And I bet you if I turned off the graphics here, that might impact it less. So let's go back to the screen here. Yeah, you can see now it's much lower. Well, it's spiking back up again. Maybe not, but you get the idea. So, but no, I mean, for what the school's going to do, this laptop's fine. And it's like I said, the fans are not even blowing on it. I mean, they're on, but they're not. It's not running full blast. So it's pretty good. And again, what I like about Vmix, and there's a lot of other options out there. There's free stuff. There's different pieces of software you can download. But Vmix is designed for people that are being paid to do this. And you could, use a software in, some cloud service or whatever. And I have nothing against, things that work for people. But for me, I know that when I boot my computer up, that it's going to work. And generally, when I come down here, my rule of thumb is come downstairs, turn on everything, and boot it up and get going. And Vmix does it. I just load up my preset. It loads everything in. I know how to use it. It runs on my local hardware. I've got adequate hardware to run it, and I'm good. And then you can install it in the cloud. You can run it in the cloud and everything else. And then they've got some really crazy stuff. So They have another thing here called, this is called Vmix call, video call here. And this will allow people to dial in with a web browser, and you can interview them. So every interview that I've done over the last year, we've done with Vmix call. You could use Skype, you could do Skype NDI or whatever, but it's so much easier to use this. And I'll have some demonstrations of how that works. And depending on the connection to you and the other person, the video quality is really good. I think if you look at the interview we did this past week with my friend who was covering the financial stuff, I think his video quality was excellent. He had one of those Logitech cameras, the Brio, I think it's called. Looked great. So there you go. We got some people coming in to say hello. All right. Let's take a few questions, and then I'm going to probably head out, make my coffee, and get working. I got to make a video today. I try to do 4 videos a week. That's the goal I set for myself. And a lot of times I've got stuff that's like ready to go, and all of the quick ready to go stuff I have churned through. So that's how it goes. Frank Cromer in the Amazon chat says the price equals whatever makes you happy. And I think what it comes down to is this, is that, you know, and this is why I went with the TriCaster for so many years, is that I look at what am I in the business of doing, right? I love playing with technology. I love trying to do stuff myself. But by and large, like my goal is to make videos covering technological products, consumer technology. And every minute that I am not spent doing that, futzing around with something not working or whatever, is a minute I'm basically wasting time and money. So that's why, you know, Vmix has worked out so well for me. And what's nice about it, if you think about it, you know, as we're doing our live stream right now, you know, I've got 2 cameras coming in. I have 2 more that I can bring in through the hardware that I'm using. I've got all this stuff going on. I am live streaming to 2 different sources right now. You can stream up to 3 at a time. I could hit the R button here and start recording, as you can see. So I could record a lossless file to the hard drive here as I'm doing this. And it just works. It's amazing. Now, I did build the hardware. The desktop computer I'm running with is one that I built from scratch. We did a live stream a few months ago getting that set up. But you don't have to. You could just go out and buy a decent gaming laptop, or gaming desktop or laptop, and get it going. So those are things to think about. Let's see what else we got here. Smoke Monster is here. Hello, Smoke Monster. Hope you're doing well. Smoke Monster does some awesome streams. Now, the one thing that this doesn't do, and Smoke Monster, his presence reminds me of this, is that he's got a lot of neat stuff that integrates with OBS. A lot of those things won't integrate with Vmix the same way. They don't have a lot of that fancier stuff. So I'm thinking about, you know, those things that ding every time somebody makes a super chat or whatever. I don't know if you can do that here. I'm using Vmix Social, which we talked about a little bit earlier, and this is what pulls stuff up on screen. So for example, I can send Greg M's thing here into the lower third, and it'll pop that up. See, so like that's how that works, but it doesn't have like the thing that dings automatically and lets you know that somebody's in there. So that's how it works. So I do. So thank you, Eric's Variety Channel. Right on schedule here, right on cue. So it will give you a notification here when somebody does make a super chat. So I see it on my screen here, as you can see. It says super chat, but it doesn't like ding you automatically. I'm going to write to them and see if they could do something about that, because that'd be kind of neat to just have that pop up automatically. Because I do miss them from time to time, and what I miss actually are the super stickers, because it doesn't tell me when somebody does a super sticker, which is a super chat with a sticker and not a chat. So what I do in that case is I just keep an eye every once in a while on the viewer activity here on YouTube Studio. So if there's a super sticker that comes through, I'll see it pop up there. And you can see why the web browsers are screwed up. This is a YouTube problem. It's not, that's what was throwing me off earlier. I was like, what's wrong with YouTube? So that's what happens there. Here's a good question from Keck Mowry about what would I recommend to beginners. And I would say, if as always, it kind of depends. I would say for beginners, if you don't need to do all this fancy overlay stuff, then the ATEM Mini is probably a great way to start, because you can get 4 cameras brought in, you have some rudimentary picture-in-picture and stuff. That's going to work really well if it's a pretty simple production. When you start doing lower thirds, which the ATEM can do but not as easily, when you start looking at multi-box kind of stuff, which we'll do in the video, that's the kind of thing where you're going to run into some difficulty with the ATEM Mini. It's really when you start doing compositing and layering and adding a 2-up screen or a 3-up or a 4-up, again, lower thirds. That's where I think the transition over to Vmix makes sense. The cost, though, is substantially higher going into Vmix, because even though the software, depending on the edition that you choose, can start below the cost of an ATEM Mini, you need a computer that is powerful enough to run it. So you're looking at probably $700,000 or $800,000 for a laptop that's capable of it, because you need that GPU. So that's what I would say. So again, if you're just switching cameras, the ATEM Mini is fine. I set up a lot of folks on ATEM Minis. I do a little bit of consulting work. You may have saw some of my graphics that popped up earlier from one of my last gigs. So that's the other thing that's great about Vmix. I can sit here at my house. I've got this awesome fiber optic connection now. I can just run people's streams for them. Vmix Call is so good. You can just bring your hosts in over Vmix Call, right? And you can bring it into your home, or you could host it in the cloud and bring it in that way. So there's a lot of neat things you can do with that. Jai wants to know, how does it work with a green screen? I shall show you. So we'll pull up my green screen. And I'm wearing a green sweater, so this is not going to be ideal, but maybe we can make it work. So I can pull up the green screen. And what I'll do here is, here, let me show you what I'm looking at so you can see. This is the desktop. Okay, so let me pull off your thing here. And I'll just pull myself up, and we'll say color key, turn on the color key. And I think I always forget how to do this, so I will try to remember how to do this. So hit the chroma key, filter, boop, and we'll just key me out. Actually, not bad. And then what you want to do, of course, because my screen doesn't fill up the whole area, and you'll see a little bit of shadowy stuff here. So you got to tweak it a little bit. You need to light it better than I've got it lit right now. But we can go in and then position, crop, and crop on the other side. I should probably add this to my list of things that I want to cover. And so we've got a real basic key here. And so we can do that. So now what's cool about how this is set up is that I can overlay myself on top of this. So I could just go, whoop, see that? Isn't that neat? So you can see a lot of me. That is cool. So that was what, 5 minutes? Not even? And then when you're ready to go back, we can just turn off this, and I can just go to color key and just turn it off and go to position and reset all. And we're back on Earth. Pretty cool. So yeah, pretty quick. And they've got a good keyer. The keyer on this is really good, I think. It works really well. Eric's Variety Channel says, yeah, the beginner cost for sure is a lot less with the ATEM Mini. And here's what I've done with this channel, and this is a good example. When I got started with the YouTube channel, I had essentially an ATEM Mini. This was the original ATEM TV studio. It was, at the time, very inexpensive for a video switcher. It was $100. Or, I'm sorry, $1,000, not $100, $1,000. And it was good. And what happened was, as I was doing more product reviews, I was finding that there were things that I could do better, right? Like I wanted to do overlays and picture-in-pictures, and I couldn't do it with the equipment that I had. And so I went from that ATEM television studio from that, I went to the next leg up, and I bought a used one. It was the ATEM 1ME, which is actually pretty much the equivalent of what the ATEM Mini is. Now, the 1ME was selling for $2,500 new back in the day, and the ATEM Mini, with the same capabilities, if not a few more, is $249. Like, think about that delta, right? So I bought that because I could do picture-in-picture. So now I could take, me and something else and put it on screen together. But it couldn't do a lot of the scaling and effects and the compositing easily that I liked. So what happened was that was working fine for about 7 or 8 months, and then I said, you know what? I really need to be able to do X. And then the TriCaster Mini came out, and it could do everything that I wanted. So I, said I took the year's YouTube earnings and bought the TriCaster Mini. And this was back before it cost as much as it costs now. And it was great, worked great, and no complaints about it. But then, it was starting to get old. The hard drives were starting to get old on it. NewTek had made some changes to the TriCaster that were impacting my workflow. And I decided that I needed to look at other alternatives. And so I was hearing from a lot of people who were working in the streaming industry who were telling me, you got to try Vmix, you got to try Vmix. I heard from a lot of folks. So I said, well, if it's good enough for a couple of these people that I knew who were like super professionals in this business, I said, I'm going to try it myself. So I put it on my laptop. In fact, I ran it on a laptop not all that different from this one. I have a Legion Y740, which is my field production machine. Pretty similar to this i7. It does have a slightly better GPU, but by and large, it's pretty close to the mark. And that one works great. I mean, I was shocked. I was running the whole channel. This channel was running on a laptop for about almost a month. So I was like, wow, if it can do that, why not just build a desktop and just run Vmix? Because Vmix was a lot less expensive. So the software, it varies based on what you're going to do. So for the school, they're going to get the HD package, and that one is $350 for the license. And it's 1080p only. It's not like the full thing, but compare that to a TriCaster, right? TriCaster is going to cost you $6,000 or $7,000. And if you're in a broadcast environment where you need the hardware and software to be a single point of support, I totally get it. It's why I would look at that if I was running a broadcast thing. But for me, the capability that I've been able to get out of my desktop machine here with Vmix probably saved me, I kid you not, saved me about $6,000. I mean, significant. So it's to the point where if you got a gaming PC, you've got a production machine. So it's pretty crazy. And yeah, Eric makes a good point too, that you can get lower thirds to work on the ATEM, no question about it. Yeah, once you start poking around with it, you'll get it going. And the nice thing I like about, and I've actually helped a couple of religious institutions locally here because they called me. I've set them all up with ATEM minis because they're so much easier to use because you don't have to train on it. You just plug them in and you're good. Like Vmix is it's a little daunting, right? You got to know what all this stuff does, and somebody could click the wrong button. ATEM is pretty simple. Big buttons that light up. Push this, push that, good to go. And the neat thing about, so one of the folks I helped was the local synagogue. And what they wanted to do, because they used to stream, they had a camera in a fixed position, they would just stream to YouTube. And they decided that they wanted to have a more, because Jewish ceremonies, many institutions too, but Jewish ceremonies involve a lot of participation from the audience, essentially. You have people coming up and doing Torah readings and different blessings and whatever. So there's a lot of congregant activity, and it doesn't work well in a live stream, which tends to be one way only. So they wanted to do Zoom, and so the ATEM links up with Zoom just like a webcam. And so they were able to have a Zoom operator. I should do a video as to how they set this up because it worked out great. They have someone designated as the Zoom operator, and then someone running the ATEM. We had a PTZ optics camera moving to different people on the bima, the pulpit essentially. And that worked out great because they could bring in the congregant to do a reading over Zoom. Everybody could see the congregant brought full screen, and they could switch back. It was, it was cool. It worked. It works great. And they wanted to have something that was more, it was more of an intimate ceremony or service than just streaming it out to the world and having people watch. You couldn't see, So the other thing that was cool about the Zoom thing is that if the congregants choose, they could have their camera on so that they could see and be seen. And not everybody wanted to be seen, but for those that did, and some didn't want to be seen but didn't mind looking at others, you know, so it was cool. It was neat. So it was good. And the funny thing was, for the High Holy Days, which is Yom Kippur and Rosh Hashanah, they had more people showing up virtually than they've ever had in the building. So it was a way to engage the congregation in ways they hadn't done before. So an ATEM plus Zoom, great combo. So that works. Keck is wondering, is there any way to get NDI into the ATEM? So there is a way. In the Amazon product carousel, I've got a product highlighted right now called the Bird Dog Mini. And there might be some other products out there. This is the only one that I know of that I can tell you for sure does it. And the Bird Dog Mini will take HDMI and push it out over NDI if you want. But it can also go in the other direction. So it can work as an NDI reception box. So you could have that box plugged into the ATEM with the NDI coming into the box and the video going to the ATEM. Another option would be to run a laptop with the studio monitor software that you can get for free from NewTek, and that will also allow you to get that video in. You plug the computer into the ATEM, so you could do it that way. But it's not as slick as it is in Vmix, where I can go at any point in time here. I'll pull it up again. I can go at any point in time here and pull up my NDI sources. And right now, this is everything that's on my network that I can pull in. Isn't that cool? So, you know, I want to grab another NDI source. I can even loop NDI back in. And that was one little trick I was doing on the TriCaster. I was using, I was layering some of the multi-composite virtual inputs on the TriCaster. It's complicated, but you see how that works. It's just really slick on Vmix. And you can bring in more than 4, you know. So if you need more than 4, then there you go. And you know, you could even integrate the ATEM Mini into NDI, because you could plug the ATEM Mini into an NDI box and encode the Mini in NDI, and have a separate 4-camera switcher outside of your computer to bring. I mean, it's like, you can go bonkers with this stuff. So there you go. CSTA, has anyone built a RetroPie cabinet? I haven't. I'm not very good building cabinets, arcade or otherwise, so I've largely avoided that. But somebody should do something. Maybe I'll do a collab with somebody if they're local. Smoke Monster, I saw Logitech Brios are finally back in stock and on sale for $160. Have I ever reviewed one? Yes, I have, as a matter of fact. I reviewed one a little while ago when they first came out. Let me see if I can find the review. It's on Amazon. And it's a great webcam. And like I said, the guy that I interviewed on the wrap-up last week, he was using one. So yeah, there's a 4K one. I don't know if they have a 1080p one, do they? They have like a 90 FPS. They're all 4K. Yeah, I would say, because it looks like they're a little bit more than 160 right now. And the hard part here is that everybody makes their cameras now look like the Logitech ones. So it's hard to tell which one is which. But I would say if you're looking for, like a good experience, 4K, these are great. That one I looked at from PTZ Optics is also great, because you can move around. Yeah, it has a virtual pan, tilt, and zoom. So that's pretty cool to play with too. All right. Well, it looks like I got this thing up and running. I can't believe how the fans are. I mean, it's barely. We're not even at 50%. Full-on resource utilization here. So this is working great. So I'm just going to save this profile here, just so I have it. And the other thing I want to check on this, I'm just curious. Yeah, so here's a good, here, let me pull this up for you real quick. This is more nerdy stuff, which I probably won't cover in the video, but something I noticed on, and another reason why, if you're looking to get into streaming, spending a little bit more on the cam link makes sense. And that is because, look at the cam link here that's selected. Let me see if I can zoom in on this for you. I'm going to find the shot here just so I can get a, yeah, okay. Let me zoom out a little bit here. And I'm going to explain what you're looking at here. So, you see that? It's only dropped 2 frames since it started doing whatever it's doing. And it's only had a resync once. So, that's after how long we've been up for. I don't know. This thing's been running for maybe a half hour. Now, if I had one of those cheap ones plugged in, you'd be seeing resyncs pretty constantly going on here. Now, resyncs are not the end of the world, but what happens is that the cheap HDMI to USB adapters, they tend to run a little bit ahead of 2997p. So when that happens, there's little variations that Vmix has to account for, and you get these resyncs. And you don't really notice them, but it's funny because you plug one of those things in and you'll see resyncs all the time. And the Camlink here has had one in the course of the half an hour, 45 minutes. And I would venture to say that that first resync was probably because of when we switched out of Vmix and rebooted it. So it's so much more reliable. Isn't that crazy? So those other ones, like you would see those resyncs, at this point you'd probably have a couple dozen of them by now. And you can see the integrated camera here, it's at about 304. And it's normal to see it on NDI. NDI will drive, network conditions being what they are, it's pushing a lot of packets UDP, so there's bound to be a little resync and drop frames occasionally with that. So, for the best performance, plug in whenever you can. But NDI is really good. And generally, if your network is healthy enough, you're in good shape. And you got a good network adapter. And this is why you want to plug in with Ethernet. So that's what I would say. Tech 360 gamers, it's always fun to learn. Yeah, I haven't done a learning video in a while, so this is going to be fun. Because I know people have been asking about this, and I wanted to show people what I'm using now. And what's nice is that it's so accessible, because before I was running with the TriCaster, I couldn't say to everybody, hey, go buy this $5,000 TriCaster because it's $5,000. This is, if you've got the hardware, the software you can try for free for 90 days and decide if it's, going to work for you. So it's neat. But I'm going to reach out to the Mimo Live people because I think it might be fun to follow this up with, like, what could we do on the fanless MacBook Air? Because I have a feeling you could do a lot of this with the MacBook, just given the fact that this is not taxing this computer all that much. So it's good stuff. All right, everybody. I think I have what I need to get my video started. And I appreciate you all just hanging out with me. It's good to see you, Smoke Monster. We should do hey, Smoke Monster, it'd be fun. I've got another one of those retro gaming magazines coming in. You want to come on and do a live stream as I open it up? That might be kind of fun. That worked really well as a live stream, did not work well as a video. It's funny what works well as a live versus not. So, good stuff. All right, everybody. I am going to go make some coffee and get ready for the second half of my day here. And the goal would be to have this shot by quitting time. And today is Thursday, and we made tacos on Tuesday. We made so much extra stuff. It's been Taco Tuesday all week, and it probably will be tonight also for dinner. So yes, the Smoke Monster's in on that. So I will message you, Smoke Monster, and let you know. And then So just in case you missed it when you first came on, we're waiting on this package to get delivered. But if it does arrive at my brother's place in Vermont, my brother's getting Starlink, and so I'm gonna fly up there to Vermont tomorrow or Saturday, if it works, if he gets it. If he gets it, what's going to happen, and it's due to arrive tomorrow. If he gets it, I'm going to go up on Saturday. We're going to set it up. We're going to record a video setting up Starlink, which is the SpaceX internet service. And after we get it set up and operating, we will do a live stream over Starlink from there. And I've got another piece of equipment that I'm reviewing that's going to be part of that. I'm going to try to kill as many birds with one stone as I can. It's going to be fun. So if you're into Starlink and want to see how it works, we're going to have one to test. And I'm going to actually get, even though I've got this great internet connection now, I'm going to get Starlink anyhow as a backup because I'm in an area where trees fall down on wires all the time. And I'm in a much better spot now with the fiber connection because I am actually, they have me going right into their head end, but it goes through like 6 miles of forest to get there essentially. So if a tree falls and takes out a wire anywhere between here and there, I'm out. So, so even though I'm not as susceptible to a power outage as I was, because I have a backup generation, and again, I'm directly connected to the head end now, if a tree goes down and takes out anything along the way, I'm out. So having Starlink as a backup, and it looks like they're not doing any kind of commitment level. So you can cancel service, and then when you need it again, just turn it back on. So $100 right now, but if I was out, fine, just to write it off. So there you go. So yeah, I will get Starlink here when it gets this far down south. It hasn't, and I'm not even that. I'm up north. I'm in Connecticut, but I'm not south enough yet. So I will definitely have it, and but my brother's getting it hopefully tomorrow. So we will fly up there Saturday and check it out. It's like a 4-hour drive, but I can get I have a connection to an aircraft, so I'm going to take that aircraft, little plane, up there. I should learn how to fly. That'd be kind of a fun thing to do, wouldn't it? We could do like a little secondary channel following my quest to learn how to fly an airplane. That'd be kind of fun. Frank has a question about Starlink. I've had Dish Network for 20 years, and of course it's affected by weather. So that's been a common question we've heard from folks, and from what I gather, Starlink has been really good in the weather. And one thing that we can try is, and part of the reason why I've got to be in and out in one day there is because Sunday they're going to get a lot of snow in Vermont where he's at. And so he's going to get a ton of snow up there. So I think the day after I leave, we'll be able to test it. I'm going to try to get a computer hooked up and installed there that I can log into remotely and run tests on. So we'll look at that, and we'll see. Amazon customer in the chat says, just jumped on, is Starlink satellite internet? Yes, this is the SpaceX service that they're launching like every 2 weeks. So they just, in the middle of the night, they launched another 60 satellites this morning around 1:30 a.m. And I guess they've got another 60 that are slated to go later today or tomorrow. So they're really getting these things up. But they have enough now in orbit that the northern latitudes in North America and other parts of the world, they've got the northern latitudes pretty well covered now. So you've got folks, this has been like a game changer because you've got people in rural Washington and Oregon and Canada who've had no options, right? They've had like very slow DSL or nothing at all, dial-up or HughesNet, super slow geosynchronous satellite service. You're going from that to essentially a low-end cable modem connection where you're getting you get about 100 to 150 megabits down. Some people get a little bit more, and you get about anywhere from 10 to 20 megabits up. So for consumer connection, it's great. And SpaceX calls it the better than nothing, better than nothing plan. So that's how it is. Amazon customer says, thank you, because HughesNet, and this is just to my point, HughesNet and the derivatives were grossly oversubscribed, resulting in significant throttling. And that's going to be a challenge for SpaceX because there's only so much capacity. So I suspect that as the service rolls out, and they're being very cautious in how many of these dishes they deliver to a specific geography. The difference that SpaceX has, and I think their advantage here is twofold. One is the altitude of the satellites is significantly lower, so that reduces the latency issues. The other factor here is that they can more easily send satellites up. So I forgot how many they've got now. I think they're over 1,000 now in orbit. So they could continually add to the constellation to build capacity. So we'll have to see what happens there. Frank wants to know if they priced it yet. Yes, so the dish right now, and I suspect this is going to go down. I'm guessing they're going to have different service tiers. They call, again, the current service now is called Better Than Nothing, which sets your expectations in the right spot. The Better Than Nothing plan, it's $100 a month. Not cheap, but if you got nothing, this is a good deal. And the dish is $500. But my brother is so desperate. He runs a business up there. He needs better speed. So that's what it is. That's where it's at. Manuel, great idea about testing shadow on it. I should add that to my notes on things I should test with it. I will look into that because I am trying to come up with all these different things that we can do. So we'll do like the basic speed test. We'll test Shadow would be great to test on it. I don't know, but you know, it might do okay, actually. Shadow, so we'll test some game streaming and stuff. Yeah, that's not a bad idea. And we'll do a live stream. We're going to do a live stream while we're up there. That's the plan. And I suspect it's going to work. And actually, if you look on my channel, we did an interview with a guy that had it a few weeks ago, actually about a couple months ago now, a month or two. And I had him call in via Starlink. So we did a video chat over Starlink. So the interview was about half hour, and I spoke to him for like another hour after that. And we had one drop-off the whole time. And what I did is I put up a graphic of the quality of the call that we were getting throughout. So it's pretty good. So yeah, definitely check it out. KF Videos. He's looking for, what are you looking for? A backup solution for his virtual machines. Do I have an idea? I don't know. I need to delve more into the virtual machine world because I'm guessing you need to shut them down to get a good image unless your hypervisor supports some kind of backup solution there. Because what I do is, I just boot them up when I need them and then shut them down again. So I am not going to be of help there, unfortunately. I need to look into that a bit more. I'm thinking about setting up a little virtual machine thing. That's a whole other story. I'm struggling with reverse proxies. I've got a whole project I'm working on that's not been going well. So I will report back when I get some more progress done with that. All right, everybody. I had to go make some coffee and finish up, get this video started. So, but it was a good idea though. Somebody had an idea about just having a random like Q&A. So I think I'm going to do that. We're going to schedule a Q&A where I can just sit here and talk and you can ask me questions. And I can maybe bring in callers over Vmix call. That may be kind of cool. All right. So that's where we're at. Okay, everybody. So I'm going to pull up here, I'll show you the next thing I'm going to do here. So you can pull up images just as well as you do anything else on this thing. So I've got in my list of images on my network device here, I've got a thanks for watching. See that? I can pull that up and end the stream. So we're going to end the stream for now, but we'll be back with a full video on how this all works, okay? Talk to you in a little bit, everybody. Thanks for tuning in, and I appreciate you helping me out today. Talk to you in a little bit. Bye-bye.